Hello, everybody. Hope you're doing fantastically well. It's Connor here, and we are back with another match preview. Yes, Leeds United are in action on Saturday evening, taking on the best team in the world, in my opinion, Manchester City. It's going to be a tough assignment for Leeds United, but there are a few things that may give Leeds fans hope going into this game, and we're going to get into them in the video. But guys, I said to you that I was going to revitalize my Patreon account, and I have done. Last few days, I've sort of been planning things to do on it. Really, we've had a couple of new members as well. I just want to say a massive thanks to those guys. I'm going to flash them up on screen in the next couple of seconds. But basically, we are going to be uploading twice a week on my Patreon account because I want to bring exclusive things that I feel should be sort of bonus content, extra content for my Patreon members who really do support me, and I appreciate all their hard work that goes into supporting the channel. So quick shout out to everybody who does support. Chris is the new one today. Welcome, Chris, to the Patreon members club. We've got Mike in there, Jaguar Skills, Odd, we've got David, Steve, Neil, and LUFC Matty K. The latest video, guys, as you can see, is the tactical analysis of Leeds United versus Manchester City. Gone into depth on this one. I think you guys will like it. So if you want to get involved in that sort of stuff, the link will be in the description below. Also, just adding to that, guys, we are sponsored, as always, by BETMATE. And this week, last week we had 115 people involved in it. This week, the minimum payout has gone up, guys, massively. As you can see, the entry's £5. The pot code is Lee City. The links will be in the description below, and 350 quid this week. Make sure you get involved. This is my team going into the weekend. I've gone with Edison in goal, Chancelo and Coops at the back, De Bruyne is captain, Grealish in there as well, Rodrigo and Sterling. You think you can beat me? Go over and check it out. But link will be in the description. Without further ado, let's get into the preview, everyone. So we've had Jesse Marsch's press conference today. Another pretty damning announcement from the press conference is that Crysencio Somerville will be out for the season. Listen, I know Crysencio hasn't played a big part in Leeds United's season. Some people would get a little bit annoyed at that potentially, but yeah, I think overall it's one of those where we just patch him up and make him well for the next campaign, really, depending on whether or not we're going to keep hold of him. Obviously, with the winger situation at Leeds United now with a different style of play. So yes, Crysencio is going to be out for the season, and obviously we've had very recently a couple of others, including Adam Forshaw, who's also going to be out for the season. So yeah, not ideal, even though Somerville wasn't playing a big part. A bonus has been Patrick Bamford. It looks like Jesse Marsch is saying that he's going to be available next week. I'm not going to get too giddy about that one because it seems like any single moment Patrick Bamford gets close to featuring for Leeds United, there is a problem, and there's been several of these scuppering points throughout the season, really, and it's been a big sort of downtrodden moment for me because I've been really excited. We saw in the first instances of the Norwich game when Leeds United were like back to old Leeds United, we looked incredible with an actual focal point, and I will say incredible. Leeds, it was wave of attack in that Norwich game, and I really thought that Patrick Bamford gave us that focal point. Today in Jesse Marsch's press conference, he was saying that the Norwich game was the best Leeds have played under him, and there's no coincidence, with his style of football, that having a focal point is a necessity. And that's what we've been speaking about in the preview. That's what we're speaking about in the reviews, the final words, the debrief, all of these things, guys. If you haven't already, make sure you go check them out. So having him back at some point in the next 3 or 4 games is going to be huge. The last 2 games, it sort of made me a little bit upset when sort of he came out and said that he might be available for the last 2 games. It's like, well, you're back or you're not, and we need you now, even if you're just on one leg, Patrick, to be quite honest with you, because Premier League survival, well, for Leeds United, it's worth more than one leg. So, yeah, I think this is another big game. And there's a lot of neutrals who are looking at this and thinking it's going to be a tough game for City. And I think there's definitely potential there, but a lot of neutrals don't look at Leeds United and don't watch Leeds United as often as we do. And I think at the minute, as I've said before, to you guys, I think performances are key, really. And I'm hearing a lot of people, and I referenced this on the debrief the other night, talk about points meaning everything. Well, to get points, you need performances. You need to create chances. You need to understand where your winger is playing if you're a fullback. You need to understand the patterns of play, the sequences. And if you don't do that, as we saw the other night when players were throwing their arms up in the air, little arguments going on with players and manager, that's where the problems, in my opinion, are just a little bit evident. I won't say problems because it's 11 and 15, but I am going to contextualize it. It's also 11 and 21. We've played Aston Villa and Leicester City. So I think what I'm trying to get at is I just like to see more and more of a style, and people seem to not enjoy it when I say the word style, but with a style, the players are going to understand the system a little bit more. Performances will improve. That will lead to better results. You can't get results without those other components. You just simply can't. So I would like to see an improved performance, and hopefully we're going to be able to put the Man City on the back foot in parts of the game. I'd like to see a little bit more of the counter press. Now, what I mean by counter press is if Leeds are hitting the front man, the second balls, that is what the counter press is. So if Leeds are able to do that, which is the Jesse Marsch way of doing it, that's what he's always done in the Red Bull network. Maybe we can see a little bit of joy there if we're pushing if we're able to push our attacking midfielders a little bit further up. But it's going to be tough to do that because then you leave space in and behind for Manchester City. What they will be doing is spreading the play wide. Man City will be as wide as possible, and they will be pushing their 2 number 8s onto our centre-backs. So that gives our centre-backs a really complex task, really, because they then don't know whether or not to come out and mark the number 8s, the midfielders. And as centre-backs, that's very confusing, and that's where the likes of Foden, the likes of Bernardo Silva have been getting a lot of joy this season. They've also been dropping between the centre-backs, and that drags the midfielder all the way up the field, and that's where they play as wide as possible. They drag the opposition midfielder out with Bernardo Silva or with Kevin De Bruyne. They split their own centre-backs like we've seen with Leeds United before when Calvin Phillips used to do that. The quarterback role under Marcelo Bielsa, and they play as wide as possible, and that's when they can double up out wide. So that's where I'm a little bit nervous when it comes to our fullbacks, because I think even the other night you saw that the onus isn't on the wingers to really help our fullbacks. And I think there was a couple of scenarios the other night where you might have seen Nathaniel Klein and Michael Olise or whoever, Jordan Ayew, doubling up on Stuart Dallas, and that just can't happen with Manchester City because they're just going to toy with us. So yeah, I think we're all in the understanding that's going to be a tough game. But listen, Manchester City do have Real Madrid on Wednesday, which is a huge game. But I think we also have to take into consideration that this is a huge game for them as well, because it's the Premier League, isn't it? Any drop points now essentially means that Liverpool win the league. That's how tight it is. That's how quality the division is this season. Top and bottom, by the way, in terms of points accrued. So, yeah, it's going to be a tough one for Leeds. I think it's going to be a really difficult one for us to really gain any momentum. But if we're able to sort the counter press, if we're able to really get them on the counter attack as well, Man City did make mistakes against Real Madrid, but contextualizing it again, this is Real Madrid that we're talking about with Karim Benzema, Luka Modric, Valverde, Vinicius Junior and co. These are world class players, so they're able to capitalize on that. What I saw against Palace, it was a bit toothless up front. There wasn't really anything offensively, and that's what Jesse Marsch was touching on today. He wants to see more from Leeds going forward, because it's fine as being well and good at the back, but I do think we've been very lacking when it comes to going forward under Jesse Marsch. And I think when you look at each individual goal, you can sort of understand that. There's been a lot of mistakes from opposition players. I think that's fair, especially in the Watford game. But I think when Leeds have been going forward, we've not been able to establish those patterns of play, those sequences, which I think Jesse Marsch wants to see in this Leeds United side. My belief is that just this team just isn't good enough, and it's just about grinding the wins out now, which might sound quite contradictory. Because I keep going on about performances as well, but I'm not talking about a 90-minute performance here. I'm just talking about seeing elements of play where I can turn around and say, yeah, I get what we're doing here. We can drag that into our next game. There's a plan there. For me, there isn't really much of a plan when Leeds are hoofing the ball to Dan James and continuing that. But then we're also talking about utilising the counter press, because how is Dan James going to be able to knock the ball down to the midfielders? So yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting game. I mean, if Leeds can get anything out of this, it could be the result of the season. And I mean anything out of this. I don't just mean a win. It would be incredible. It really would be incredible for performance, for confidence, sorry. And as I said, Walker's potentially out. John Stones, I think, is out for this one as well. But we do know with Manchester City that they just have, I mean, you've got Cancelo who's going to be back for this one. You've got the likes of Ruben Diaz, you've got Laporte. If they've got players out, they can put players in, can't they? Let's be brutally honest. They're a top side, an elite side. So I do think they've improved from last season when we played them as well. Obviously, they were in a little bit of a funk when they came to Ellen Road last season, but I am slightly hopeful. I think as it's edging closer, I'm getting slightly hopeful. These are the games that we want to be involved in as a Premier League club. It's not what you want to be involved in when Leeds are down in the doldrums and have a large possibility of being relegated this season. But it's a huge 3 games, and as I keep saying to many people around me, Leeds have to get something from these 3 games, because there is absolutely no way that Everton and Burnley are picking up absolutely zilch from their next 3 games when you look at their fixture list. There is a real possibility as well, with all of our level heads on, that Burnley go above Leeds at the weekend. I don't think that's cause for meltdown, because I think that's pretty obvious. I think now I've turned from saying it was between Leeds and Burnley to, I mean, it is Leeds and Everton now, isn't it? I think Burnley's run's just too good. It's too good. They've beaten 2 decent teams this week, half decent teams this week. And I think, when you're looking at Watford away and Aston Villa at home, I mean, you guys know I always talk about the form table because it's very, very relevant, and it makes sense to refer to the form table. Aston Villa are 17th. When you're looking at the last 6-7 games, they've been abysmal. The standout result really was against us. And then you look at Watford, who are just 19th, and they've lost 9 in a row at home, 10 in a row at home, I should say. So you are expecting Burnley to go there and get something, at least to be below Burnley. Yeah, I think the key thing to look on is sort of goal difference. If Leeds can just placate that, if we can just keep that down against Man City, that will be beneficial, even though we're not going to be able to sort of reverse that goal difference when you're looking at Everton. I think it's 9 that separates us, which is too much of a swing, really, with 5 to go. But listen, we're in a good position in terms of we are the team who is on top of that 3. We're on top of Burnley at the minute. We're on top of Everton. But yeah, these fixtures aren't nice. They're not nice for Ellen Road, for Ellen Road and Leeds United fans. So I think with this channel, I know sometimes people will, it's very one way and very the other in terms of, I will get people saying, Connor, you this, you that, you the other. And then, you get Leeds getting beaten by a big team, and then they'll come back on and say, we agree with what you say and this, that, and the other. So I get that football can be a very, a very yin and yang game, can't it? It can be like, it's like a seesaw, 1 minute and down the other. But yeah, maybe just sort of take a step back and look at where Leeds are and just think to yourself, just so you're calming yourself, really, because I do believe that if Leeds get beaten at the weekend, they get beaten well. I mean, it's going to be a toxic place in my comments. It's going to be a toxic place on Twitter. But these aren't the games that I'm looking at and thinking Leeds have to go out there and win. And the games that Leeds had to win were Crystal Palace, Burnley this season away at Turf Moor, Southampton, Leicester. They're the games that you're looking at. So, you have got to look at the Brightons, you have got to look at the Brentfords at the end of the season and think, we've got to be winning one of those games at least. But Leeds now, against 3 of these sides, we do have to get something. We really do. But I'm not going to be that stressed this weekend. I'm not. I'm going to be, beating my heart out. I'm going to be cheering the lads on, but it's going to be a tough one this weekend. But you never know. You never know in football, and that's the beauty of football. Who'd have thought that they'd have come to Ellen Road last season and we'd have got a draw against them? Who'd have believed that? Who'd have believed that we'd have gone to the Etihad and got a 2-1 win? We all live in hope, don't we? But it is very difficult to get yourself up for this game because it's Man City. You're always up for every Leeds game, but I'm just in terms of realistic outcome of Leeds getting the victory. But let's hope so, eh? And I would love the lads to prove me wrong. I'd absolutely love that. That's what I want. If I ever turn around and say, I'm not sure, I want them to prove me wrong. And I think some people miss out on that fact. We are all Leeds United fans at the end of the day. So yeah, guys, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Another really good point is it seems like he might be deviating away from the Dan James up front thing, which at long last, hopefully he's going to start Gelhardt up there. You know, Gelhardt at least can if we're aiming for him, can at least hold the ball a little bit. I know he's only a small lad, but we don't have any other options at the minute, so that's a good thing as well. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let me know your score predictions as well. Check out BetMate. Make sure you're checking out the Patreon, guys, if you want some